Greetings. Introducing Voices of Festival, a brand new podcast series from the International African Arts Festival, created to keep you connected as we count down to our 55th year of culture, creativity, and community. Each week, hear directly from the artists, dancers, musicians, vendors, and community members who make this festival an unforgettable experience. Tune in every Thursday at 8 p.m. on YouTube for Voices of Festival. Celebrate the culture, feel the rhythm, be part of the journey. Hey, Habari Ghani, Alafia, Salam Alaikum, Hotep. Welcome to Voices of Africa. My name is Adiyemi Bandeli, and I'm joined by my co-host.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sakina Nzinga Kennard. It's a pleasure to be here. Peace.
Welcome again to Voices of Festival. Sakina, let us first begin by giving our ancestors their props, please.
Yes, indeed. So I just want to start off with saying giving honor and giving praise to those that have fallen, that have transitioned. I just want to acknowledge them. So I will say, Ibaye. We give honor, we give praise, and we give thanks for those who have passed before us. And I want to call their names. Ibaye Mama Kuumba. Ibaye Jitu Wusi. Ibaye Honorable Babatunde Akowe. Ibaye Brother Abubadika. Ibaye Sister Asada Shakur. Ibaye Nana Dinizulu. Ibaye Stan Kennard. Ibaye Mze Moyo. Ibaye Dick Gregory. Ibaye Kuja Bandeli. Ibaye Imam Jamil Al-Amin, a.k.a. H. Rat Brown. Ibaye Viola Plummer. Ibaye Ambassador Joe Beasley. Ibaye Brother Kinsey. Ibaye Mama Stephanie Weaver. Ibaye Baba Lloyd Weaver. Ibaye Baba Alafia Shango Dehi. Ibaye Baba Alfred. Ibaye Chief Bay. Ibaye Baba Luka Shewali. Ibaye Mamba Abimbala. Ibaye Baba Haru. Ibaye Baba Power. Ibaye to all of those ancestors that walk with us, that guide us, that protect us, that let us know that they are forever present with us. And we give honor and praise for all that they have done and all that is to come.
Thank you. Ashe. Thank you. And we are encouraged by the sacrifices of our ancestors, but we also are asking those who are still here to be actively engaged in moving festival forward. So Sakina, would you please let folks know how they can and should be supporting the International African Arts Festival?
Yes. We're hyping it up. This is a new year, and July is coming. So please like us, comment, subscribe, share our video, and we want to hear from you. We want feedback. We want to know your stories. We are going into the 55th. We are in the 55th year of the International African Arts Festival. You can follow us on IAA Festival on Facebook and Instagram, and you can go to our website, iaafestival.org.
All right. So please, you all, festival is a child of the East, and the East always had a communications vehicle. And right now with festival, this is our communications vehicle. We encourage you to share what we do. We've had some incredible guests on, and tonight our current guest is as significant. Let me just start. Carol Alexander is an artist of vision and a cultural architect of uncommon power. She builds more than museums. She builds memory, meaning, and momentum. From the shores of Florida to the heart of Africa, her work has transformed theaters, museums, and public spaces into living sanctuaries where the past breathes, the present dances, and the future speaks. As president and chief creative officer of Mabu, a cultural resource guide, in 2017, she answered the call of Liberia's president and Nobel Peace Laureate Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to reopen the National Museum of Liberia. After nearly 2 decades of silence from a civil war, Carol orchestrated its rebirth, curating 3 floors of exhibitions. Her work at home is equally profound. She is the founding executive director of Jacksonville's Ritz Theater and Museum, a $6 million, 32 square foot crown jewel celebrating African American history and artistry. For 14 years, she curated groundbreaking exhibitions, created permanent tributes to James Weldon and John Rosamond Johnson. By the way, if you don't, those names aren't familiar to you, they created the Black National Anthem and brought global luminaries to Jacksonville, including Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Eartha Kitt, Nikki Giovanni, Ozzie Davis, Ahmad Jamal, Lady Smith Black Mambazo, Esperanza Spalding, and NABS artists and more. Under her guidance, the Ritz became a cultural heartbeat for the city. She also led the creation of the A.L. Lewis Museum at American Beach, continuing the vision of her mentor and spiritual mother, Maveen, the Beach Lady Betch. Please welcome to Voices of Festival, Carol Alexander. Hey, sis.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Greetings.
Yeah. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, because ain't no telling where in the world one might find you. So you happen to be coming off grandma duty in Jacksonville, so we were able to catch you. But thank you, Carol. First thing, and we're going to move quickly because there's so much to you. But how did you get involved in the arts to begin with?
I think I was born into it because, my beginning grounds was none other than Philly. And Philadelphia has so much in the area of arts and nurturing in the arts, especially in our community. I think it wasn't like a destination. It was just something that I grew into, and it developed into me.
All right. Sakina, I know you're always interested about people's connection to the festival. You want to raise your question?
Yeah, well, one, I would say, where did you go to school first? But two, how were you introduced to festival? What was your experience with it?
Well, I went to school in Philly. My undergrad degree was at Virginia State, and I came back to Philly to do graduate work at Temple. Now, to follow that is education in Philly. So Temple, when I first came to the festival, it was probably 78, 79. And that was part of what Temple's in a Black community and many different arts and culture there. And I just began to hear about it. Got to go to girls' school. First and second time I went with a group of folk, and then they started chartering buses. So I've been going early. And I just continued. And now I'm at a point where my grandchildren are asking to come with me, where sometimes you say, okay, let's go up and do, because it's my thing, the whole African thing. But when I started introducing my kids and now my grandchildren, they're asking, they don't even want to stay in their places July 4th weekend. So it's been,
Good.
it's been a wonderful journey over the 50 years.
All right. So let's jump, and we're going to come back to Philly and also to Florida, but let's talk about Liberia. How in the world did you end up getting that assignment?
The ancestors, and you hear that in a kind of a, quirky way, but I believe it was. I went to Liberia with a friend because she was being honored, Dr. Janetta Betch Cole, and we were going to go for 5 days. Took 5 outfits and 2 pair of sandals. And it was just that basic. Said bye to my family. I'll be back in a week. And I didn't see my people for 9 months before I came back to come back. But what happened was Janetta Cole, Dr. Janetta Cole had just retired from the Smithsonian, and the president at the time, the first woman president on the continent, Ellen Johnson, she was bringing her there to honor her and wanted to see if the Smithsonian, could they borrow some things from the Smithsonian, because she had, put the old museum together after 25 years Civil War. It had been bombed, holes in the ceilings, but she wanted the museum to come back before she left office. To shorten the story, she came to get Janetta from the hotel, and we went to the museum, the old museum in Liberia. And Janetta literally, and I hope she doesn't see this, she said, "Oh, they cannot bring anything from the Smithsonian here. There's no security, there's no air conditioning." So I just said, they could do this, they could do this, they could do this. So we went back to the conference room with the president, and Janetta was speaking, and I'm sitting in my glory of saying, I'm sitting in the president's conference room. And then Janetta said, "My sister, Carol Alexander, has some ideas." Carol? And, I just started saying what they could do. And she says, "You're going to stay." And I'm like, "No, we're leaving the day after tomorrow." She said, "I'll pay you to stay. What can you do?" And I'm like, "No, you have to have an assessment. How long would it take you?" I said, I guess a week. And one thing happened after another. It took me 2 weeks. And she had put me up. And after I presented it, she says, "I don't have anyone here. You got to do it." I'm like, "I got to go home. I got to go see my." And she talked me into it. So I ended up moving through the hinterlands, moving into villages, digging up stone artifacts that during the war, they would dig some of the artifacts in the ground. A lot of the peacekeepers would come and take all of our artifacts and carving. And I just kept going and meeting people. And we ended up in about 10 months putting a whole museum together for the community to be.
So, of course, this is not something new to you. So let's jump to the Ritz.
Okay.
Now, and I want to make mention of this, that my involvement in the cultural arts world, one of the most difficult challenges that we have is funding. And to have an institution become what's called a line item, which means that you are in the budget of either it's the city, the county, or the state. And you are one of the few African-American led institutions in the nation that had a line item. Talk a bit about the Ritz.
Well, the Ritz was an old Black theater that was built in 29. And the community, which is called Villa, had gone through its demise of the crack epidemic. And it used to be the place where the people of Jacksonville go for the old movies. And some of the old silent movies were created in this area. And it was really timing how it happened. There was a new administration coming in. There was all kinds of things going on in this community. A lot of the Black folk wanted to preserve the houses, the culture, the restaurants. But, gentrification was getting ready to move in there. And the community just stood up. Even though it was blighted, they stood up. Long and short of the story, the city decided under the new mayor that they wanted to do something to preserve that legacy and culture that the community was just really trying to keep and not lose. So that's how the budgeted money came through. A lot of people came forward, city council. At the time, we did have about 6 or 7 out of 19 Black city council people. And one thing happened after another. It was pushback. They decided it was so much pushback. And we're talking now the 90s. Things were changing in our culture nationally. There is recognition to African American history. So, I think the city at the time, or I know the city at the time, was making a statement about that, but they didn't know what kind of statement it would be. And I just started making connections of other institutions around the country, and they would send me around to see how you would do it. Came up to New York, to the Schomburg, went to Detroit, went all over the country to institutions that had been, in operation for a while. And they gave the money, $6.5 million. And they said, knock it down and build it up. I hadn't even built my own house at that time. So it was a lot of on-the-job training. The museum told the story of African Americans in Northeast Florida, but this community where this theater was in was the birthplace of James Weldon Johnson and John Rosamond, who wrote, and the song was first sung at the school behind the theater, Lift Every Voice and Sing. So a lot was around that history, and I bumped into someone who did animatronics, and James Weldon and John Rosamond robotics of that time. They would speak to each other. And then I knew that I had to have that other part of who we were. And someone from the festival that I had known really almost from a kid, because I think I met Baba Yashangi in Philadelphia first. And he was in Africa one day, and he called me. He's talked about he had a vision. I said, "What, Baba?" He said, "When I come back, I'll tell you." Well, from that time, from 2000 until he made transition, he would come with an exhibit. Every year would call Africa's Living Arts, the living art of Africa, Africa Kingdom. He would take his collection, he would bring people in, and the resources that people knew him. He would dance, he would bring the whole family. He even brought this brother over here, Adeyemi, and he would get in his car, drive from Maryland all the way down. So when I say it was ancestral driven, people would hear about it, and it became a force until something else happened, and it's no longer as much as a force, but that's communities around around the United States. Things changed.
Carol, in each show, we kind of look back at the previous festival. And I know that you were there, as you mentioned, with your grandchildren. So the scene that Beware will share with us, you may have been near the stage for it. But if not, this is part of what you missed. So we're going to take a real short break to look back at Festival 54. All righty. Welcome back. Welcome back to Voices of Festival. Sakina, this is a piece where I've been really terrible with, and I have to take ownership of it because I know that we have to keep reminding people of what they need to do to support us. So please, if you would.
Yes, must.
But you got to come off mute.
I said festival is a beautiful experience every year, and I'm glad that we're able to recap just to get the vibe going, you know. But please like us, comment, subscribe, and share. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know how you feel about our podcast, and share it with your family, share it with your friends. And please, we want to hear from you. Thank you.
All right. Sakina, I'm going to put you on the spot. Were there any black beaches that you and your family visited when you were growing up? Was there such a thing?
Not to my recollection, no. No.
Right. We're not dealing with Jones Beach and Reese Beach and all of that stuff, huh?
I'm a straight New Yorker, so
Okay. Well,
I wouldn't know. But
Carol,
is this a topic?
yeah, because there are in fact several black beaches around the country, and one of the most famous ones was actually there in Florida that Carol has been responsible for, I guess, essentially reclaiming. Carol, tell us about American Beach, please.
American Beach was founded in 1935. Its leader and president of the Afro-American Life Insurance Company that was founded in Jacksonville in 1901. That's so significant because the name was Afro-American, not African-American. 1901, we were colored. And we weren't barely Negro at that point. And these 7 brothers got together to create an insurance company. And its lead was A.L. Lewis. And they would have to go with their company people and their families for relaxation out of Jacksonville. And it was a beach that was a community, really wasn't a resort beach. There was a community that had been founded from the land that the plantation owners had given the ex-enslaved people. And that 40 acres of a mule, it was their 40 acres on what is called Amelia Island. And Black folk had been there since 1865. So Black folk from Florida, Southern Georgia would come to where this community was founded. It's called Franklin Town. So one day, A.L. Lewis had the employees there and saw this land available, got a white lawyer to intercede who owned it, and he did, and they said that they wanted to buy it. So the company bought the first 33 acres for $2,000, and then the next year they bought another acre. So by 1938, we had almost 200 acres, and then another 15 after the war. This beach is still intact. It is still predominantly Black. We're about 90% Black now. During COVID, they started stealing some of the land from people who couldn't pay taxes and what have you. They started creeping in. So if you can take a look at from 1935 to about 2020, it was all Black and the best kept secret, I guess, in the community. But now they have discovered, and new homes and new land has been released. I was going to say stolen, probably one of those words we're not supposed to use. So I opened up a museum there in 2014 talking about the story of these very resilient people, these people with focus and determination, so that they could be on their own beach. And A.L. Lewis coined the phrase recreation and relaxation without humiliation, because all of our beaches on the East Coast were, do not allow, no Black folks allowed. They were all segregated. So he wanted to be able to have our people to come and rest and have fun. They had clubs, and people would start. James Brown, when he was an early teen, came there. Count Basie, Cab Calloway, luminaries would come. W.B. Du Bois, Mary McLeod Bethune. So it was a vision of our folk. It was a recreational institution of our people. So there's a
Carol,
museum.
let me jump in and kind of move forward because our time is almost up. But talk very quickly about Marvine and her connection to this, real quick.
Marvine Oshunbetch is the great-granddaughter of A.L. Lewis, the president of the Afro. She is the sister of Janetta Cole. He was the first Black millionaire in Florida, and they grew up as very privileged women, young women, and into their later years. Well, Marvine was an opera singer, and she came back to care for her grandfather and her mother. They died within 6 weeks of each other. And she went into this place, never went back to Europe to her a pristine opera career. She was like a diva in Germany for about 15, 20 years. And she began to grow her hair. She had 7 feet of hair, 2 feet of nails. And like an opera singer, she would go, who else would look like this but an opera singer? But she was an advocate for history, an advocate for saving the beach. She would fight against bulldozers when they would come and try to buy land or buy around Black folk. They came and stole that Franklin town, which is next to American Beach in the 70s. And they would just tell people, hey, you need $1, you need $2 for your, or $2,000 for your bills. And over 2 years, they took it. And she was an advocate, a champion for saving it. And she would live on the beach. But the most brilliant woman that you would ever meet or encounter. So if you come to the museum, she asked me to cut her hair when she made transition. So I cut the 7 feet of hair before the undertakers came and cut her nails and stored it until I opened the museum. So you'll be able to see and witness all of that and hear the story.
Well, definitely going to make it down there.
Definitely, I have to come now.
Absolutely. Maybe we'll do a show from there, Sakina. Real quick, though, you talked about your institution building, but you're also in your own rights an artist. Talk a bit about your spoken word and the award that you received.
Okay, now spoken word artists would say, she's not spoken word. I'm a storyteller.
Okay.
Did you hear that in the last 20 minutes?
All right.
But, that's part of my institution that I have perfected in telling stories, because our stories are lost. Yes, I build museums, an institution. Yes, in cultural wares, clothes, art on the wall. To me, that is all institution building to keep the story and heritage and legacy of our people. No matter where we move, our children behind us need to know who we are in different ways, in different platforms. When I joked about spoken word, that's kind of a new term, but let's talk about the Black arts of poetry. Now it's spoken word. And now it's hip hop music. So tell our stories and create our own institutions in our culture.
Carol, listen, I want to thank you so very much. The Carol Alexander. And I'm sure that this information is important for you. Festival dates for this year, July 3rd through the 5th. We're at a new location now, Lincoln Terrace Park. And our theme for this year is Hanganini. It is from Namibia, and it means let's unite, which is so absolutely appropriate at this time. So I know that we'll see you at festival. Want to thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule. And I want to turn it over to Sakina to remind folks how they can support us.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure listening to your journey and your work. And I definitely would like to come and visit and just learn more and just soak up the energy. Like the ancestors are definitely behind you. And such a pleasure to hear your story. Thank you.
You're down in Florida, aren't you? Or Atlanta?
Mhm. I'm in
Oh,
Yeah.
you
Atlanta. I'm
You're
in
not far
Georgia.
away.
nah.
I know.
Sakina, yeah.
Come
Yep,
on up.
I know.
So she has no
Definitely.
excuse. And what else
Mm-hmm.
do
I'm
folks need to
coming.
do? Sakina, what
Yes.
do our folks need to do?
What we need to do is to like, comment, subscribe, and share, research, honor our ancestors, um, and watch Voices of Festival. Share it with your family and your friends. This is a wealth of information. You can hashtag Voices of Festival, subscribe to our channel, Voices of Festival. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at IAA Festival, and follow us, please. Thank
Right.
you.
And lastly, support us with our drive for 55. We've got to get some
Mhm.
money together, and that comes about through self-determination. Once again, Carol Alexander, want to thank you so much. And for those of you who are still with us here, please, we'll see you next time. Until then, be loving, be blessed. I'm out of here.
Yes, it was such a pleasure. Thank you, Sakina.